Super excited to continue our tradition of meeting the US² team. Today I have with us Kenny White. Now, I'm not going to
Hello.
share too much about Kenny because I want him to be able to share it. And I feel like I'm like spoiling the awesomeness by sharing it myself.
Thank you. I am Kenneth White. I go by Kenny. I'm coming from the Chicagoland area. Right now, I am a violence recovery specialist at the University of Chicago Medicine on the South Side in Hyde Park. So originally born in Chicago, but I've moved around all my life. I don't mind sharing my story, if need be.
Awesome. I love it. So you said that you've moved around a lot. Give us
Mhm.
like a quick, how many different places have you lived?
So like I said, born in Chicago. I lived in Chicago up until about the age of probably like 4. I moved down south to Pensacola, Florida, where I've had my mother's side of the family. So I've lived there from Pensacola, Florida to Milton, Florida to Pace, Florida to Cantonment, Florida. I've moved around a lot as a preteen, as a child, just from poverty and things like that. And until my father, one day, his job got shut down, and then we decided to move back to Chicago. So we moved back to the west side of Chicago. At that time, we living with my grandmother, who had been in that neighborhood for over 60 plus years. Um, and at the same time, when I was living on the west side of Chicago, I was going to a school in the northwest suburbs. So that was definitely a culture shock coming from the South, coming back to the Midwest, and then finding out at 14 years old that Chicago has suburbs. Never knew that. So, um,
That's a
yeah,
whole other thing right there. I love that. Like, what? Chicago has suburbs?
yes, yes.
Right.
So it was definitely a culture shock. Code switching, had a thick Southern accent. So when I tell you, like, I've seen all different sides of life, I'm telling you just from experience I have.
Yeah. No, and I'm on the opposite side of that where I didn't realize that I lived in a suburb of Detroit.
Mm,
Because when you are in a suburb, you don't want to necessarily equate with the urban city. But
hmm.
when you're in the urban city, you don't necessarily know if there's anything outside of that. So it's just a difference in perception, right?
Yeah.
So Kenny, we met. I feel like all of my timelines are either pre-COVID or post-COVID. We met pre-COVID.
Yes.
We
Yes.
met a while ago. And when
Yeah.
we first met, you were in the education space. Can you tell me a little bit about what brought you to Us Squared, how that kind of happened?
Absolutely. So we did meet in the education space. At that time, I was an instructional behavior specialist. I can't remember the exact title, but basically, I worked with adolescent teens within a high school. Actually met Megan through one of the deans there, and doing this diversity and equity inclusion and Jedi work as professional development and growth development. He introduced us, and then there I was mentoring kids. I was implementing programs that would help them change behaviors, have academic success, stay out of trouble, dealing with truancy issues and things like that. But also, I knew that in those moments, sometimes that schools don't really have what it takes to help develop black and brown kids, and sometimes they may not even have the initiatives in place to do that from an administrative level. So basically, the school that I was working with didn't have a whole lot of diversity and equity and inclusion methods and programs on how to implement that in the school to help affect and change the behavioral aspects of black and brown kids in the school. So, from an internal aspect, one of the amazing deans of that school introduced me to Megan to help professional development, growth, and how to effectively impact these students, but not just there, but to also go to other schools and audit other schools and do equity and inclusion write-ups and stuff like that, as a professional development, but also just to open my eyes to what's happening within our education system. So that's one of the ways that I met Megan. Ever since then, it's been great growth development. She's got me out of my comfort zone with public speaking. So I've always tell her, like, I appreciate that. Who I am today was not the same person that when I first met her when I was working in the education system.
Thank you so much for sharing that, Kenny. And I have to say, you've done all of the work to get you to where you are today. And I often share your story of just one that you have so much to bring to the team. And I'm so grateful that you're on the team. And one of the things that I always do in this Meet the Team series is share the piece that I admire the most about each of the team members. And there's a couple of things with you, Kenny. And I think number one, it is your true commitment and passion to being human, your curiosity, your willingness to look at different perspectives and just jump in, even if you're not 100% sure what that looks like or what the expectation is. You're like, I got this. What do you need? Let's do it. And that is something that we need so much more of in society. And just for everyone else listening, what Kenny's superpower is constituent engagement. And what I mean by that is engaging families, engaging students, engaging fellow colleagues, making everyone know that they are seen, heard, welcomed, and valued. Kenny does a phenomenal job with engaging every single person, whether it's we're working on a team, making sure that every team member is heard. If it's working with a client, making sure that every identity and every demographic and every perspective is heard and seen. So Kenny, I just have to say thank you for that. And I truly appreciate what you do bring to the US² team.
Thank you, Megan. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I'm curious, we've been, you do a couple different things with us. You've done quite a bit with us over the years. I'm wondering what it is that makes you want to stick around. Why do you continue doing this work? Why are we so lucky to be able to still have you on our team?
US² has supported me in a lot of different endeavors. So whenever there was like an equity audit going on somewhere, or in the height where DEI and JEDI was like taking full force, and I saw Megan like pushing, like, we're about to do this, we're about to grow this, I was like fully on board. And she knew like I didn't have all the credentials and the background work in this type of thing, but like she just said, she saw my willingness to learn, and she incorporated me in. She taught me, she showed me the ropes, and watched how I grew. So not just supported me internally, but externally, because a lot of things that have been taught within US², from the CARES program to all the JEDI trainings, you can you can transition that to all different other aspects and workspaces. So now I'm in the trauma and crisis intervention workspace within social work in the hospital, and that stuff, you are still dealing with humans. You're still dealing with people with different intersectionalities that that they need help. They need someone that cares. They need a human that understands or is able to share their transparency of what they've been through. So that's one of the reasons why I've stuck around with US². And another reason is that the work that is being done here, I've had the flexibility to be a part of something and then go and put my investments and times elsewhere. And then she checks in and say, hey, I know we ain't talking like 6-7 months, but got something coming up. You wanna join in? If not, no pressure, I'm just checking, see how you're doing. But, hopefully maybe soon we can get something in as far as working with you and having you come in on a project or something like that in the next couple months or so. So there's been some great flexibility. So, yeah.
I love that. And Kenny, I am so glad that you've chosen to stick around. And I have to say, it's been tremendous. When you shared your most recent career shift, I was like, oh my gosh. Like the last time we got together in person and you were talking about it, I was like, oh my God, like it hurts my heart. It hurts my whole being just hearing what you do, and you do it on a regular basis. And I'm so grateful that they have you to be able to do that work, and that everyone you interact with has the opportunity to work alongside you. So we're so grateful to have you on the team. if anyone wants to just really dive into what this looks like, we're going to be continuing to meet people from our team. This is an ongoing series, and we have over 40 people that we're going to be introducing you to over the next few months here. So keep on the lookout for the next person. Kenny, so great to talk to you today. If you
Beautiful.
loved hearing a little bit more about Kenny, we have a couple podcasts that have featured Kenny. So it's just, Kenny has lots of great things to bring to all of us. So Kenny, thank you again, my friend. And everyone listening, continue to tune in to get to meet everyone else on our team, and have a great day.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate it. Thank you, Megan.